welcome back to another video. So you guys all know the BuyBotPro confidence score. It is BuyBotPro's voice for the analysis, and it's a great second opinion to take on board with you when you make your purchasing decision. And it's just nice to have that reassurance there, and just to see what BuyBotPro thinks about the product. It's going to use the entirety of the analysis, so all of the numbers, sales, the alerts, the dashboard, all that wonderful stuff, and it obviously factors in what you have entered into the BuyBotPro score adjuster settings. So this is effectively your target criteria for a deal. So it's got to meet all this stuff in order to be considered by you. And if it doesn't meet it, obviously it's something that we are going to avoid. Now, you can enter effectively whatever you want into this score adjuster settings section. However, if you are unsure and you want a bit of advice, you want a bit of help with, what might be good to set in here, what are some good targets, then I'm going to help you with that. So let's start off for if you are a new seller on Amazon, if you are a beginner. Now, your criteria for a deal is going to look different to that of someone who's been doing Amazon for a long time. So what exactly is best to set? Now, let's start off with the profit and ROI. Now, a lot of people will recommend that the product has a minimum of 30% ROI to be considered good at a beginner's level. Obviously, we want as much ROI as we can get on an item. However, the reality is when we are getting ourselves ungated and we are trying to navigate Amazon, and we're getting used to sourcing, and it's all relatively new. The reality is sellers will be going for things that are anywhere between 15 and 30% ROI, and that's fine, especially if the product has got sales to back it up. It's just you getting used to Amazon, getting your getting the ball rolling, getting your first profits made. So I would say maybe a minimum of 15 is good to have as your ROI. Now, with that, you might find that not every product is going to make that minimum of £1 profit. I would say personally, and this is just my opinion, if you are just getting yourself ungated, as long as it makes you something, and you are trying to get used to the system, even if it's made 70p or 70 cents profit or whatever, I would say that's okay, because you are effectively using an item to get yourself ungated, and it unlocks a whole world of potential for you. So when you are getting started out and you are in those kind of circumstances, I would say that maybe if you just had this as 50p profit, that's also a good target to have. When I was selling some stuff for the very first time, I think I found something that made 90p profit or something like that, but the sales were nuts. So I really enjoyed selling that item, even though the profit wasn't massive. But I mean, all these bits and pieces do add up, and especially as a beginner, it's great to have that feeling of, yes, I'm making sales, this is how the system works, while I'm getting them gated. We can change this in due course as we get used to Amazon. For minimum and maximum BSR parameters, so as a beginner, you might want to rule out things that are very, very, very competitive and the very best of the categories. So in that case, we might want to maybe rule out, I don't know, the top 3 to 5%, something like that, just because obviously Amazon's no doubt going to be on those listings. You're going to have lots of big sellers as well, big competitive sellers that have been doing this for a while on those listings as well. And as a beginner, we might want to avoid that. So if we want to cut out that very top percent, we could maybe, let's just go in the middle there, maybe 4. So cut out that very top. So 1, 2, 3. Let's cut out that very top bit. And maximum BSR, well, this one can be a bit funny, really, because obviously BSR can mean different things for different categories, because every category is huge. It's absolutely crazy. I mean, you just look up some of the things that are on Amazon. You can be scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. This one we can be a bit more flexible with. So I would say, really, you definitely want the better half of the BSR. So you could go all the way up to 50, anything in the top 50%, and that gives you a lot of choice, really. And especially, as I say, even if you are finding things that don't blow your socks off in terms of profit ROI, you will be able to get those items as well and have the confidence score reflect that. So I would say that this looks pretty good for a beginner. If you want to be a bit tighter with the maximum BSR, you could perhaps go for the top 30% or something like that. Something along those lines. We can be a lot more flexible with the BSR. Now, let's say we have been doing Amazon for a few months, anywhere from a few months to a year. We've gotten used to it. We are sort of like an intermediate seller. So obviously we want to then be looking at our minimum of 30. I would say that's pretty good. And then, you know, we want to make a few pounds profit ideally. So we could go for about, I don't know, £2-3 minimum. So let's go in the middle there and do 250. For the minimum BSR, we might want to just chip off the very top bit of the BSR, so we could go for the top 1 or 2 for that matter. So we could do something like that. Maximum, we might want to fine tune it a little bit. So I would say, you know, anything in the top 30%, that can be quite good. If we want to fine tune it a little bit more, okay, maybe the top 25%. And that I would say is decent for if you are an intermediate seller. And now if you are an advanced seller and you're looking for big items that have got a lot of profit behind them, a lot of ROI, they are really good BSR wise, you want some really tight criteria for things that are going to do really well. Obviously we might want to move things up a bit, so we could be going for like 50% ROI, minimum profit 5. Let's get in that top bit of the BSR as well. We might want to fine tune it to maybe anywhere from 25 to, I don't know, the top 10% even. That's really tight criteria there for if you are like quite advanced. Maybe you got VAs finding you stuff, maybe you are signed up to a deal sheet, maybe you're using sellability, I don't know, but that is some really tight criteria right there that you can use if you are quite advanced. Obviously, again, this is just what I think. If you want some rough guidelines for what set as your criteria, then obviously, hopefully this video is helpful to you. At the end of the day, this is just the target criteria. It doesn't have to be set in stone that you definitely have to buy things that basically meet all of this criteria or exceed it or whatever. Because if, say, for example, we are also selling replenishables, for example, toothpastes, shampoo, I don't know, sewing needles, like small things that aren't obviously going to always achieve things like £5 profit. This is where obviously we make our own assessment. But if we're looking for like those golden items that are really going to help make our business, then that's what we're going to rely more on this sort of criteria for. But obviously, depending on the item, we may need to be a bit more flexible and make that our own judgment for ourselves, which is where the rest of BuyBotPro comes in handy. Obviously, the confidence score is just trying to help keep us on track with our targets. So how above or below we want to be around those targets is entirely up to you. And as I say, depending on the item, that will influence that sort of decision, especially with replenishables and things that may have like a really high sales velocity, but in terms of like profit and ROI, it's never going to be absolutely mind-blowing. So yeah, hopefully this helps. If you want to reset it, you can just tap reset, and you've got it all set here as the factory settings. Don't forget to save and sync once you have set up your BuyBotPro score adjuster settings, and this is what the confidence score will take into account.